back to the channel. Today we've got our 5 best bets for college basketball here on December 17th. December 19th. My goodness, I'm 2 days off. Thursday, December 19th. We've got games throughout the day. Our first game will be a 2 p.m. spot that we're going to get to in a moment. Not the biggest name teams playing today, but we do have a spot that we mentioned yesterday. UC Irvine plays today. We really like the Anteaters this year. And there's some other teams, again, some notable teams playing today, but I believe there's no ranked teams playing here on Thursday. Of course, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some bigger games, but of course, we still have 5 spots that we like today for college basketball. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for some more best bets here for college basketball daily. In an hour, we will have our NBA predictions. We're going to have over 30 minutes of NBA predictions today for, I believe, the 12 games that are being played today in the association. So go check that video out in the next hour or in an hour. And make sure to go check out our NFL predictions. That was posted yesterday. Our college football playoffs predictions were posted 2 days ago as well. And here's the full schedule for those college bowl games. Christmas Eve, there is no college basketball. There is no NBA. So on Christmas Eve, we'll have both our college football predictions for round 2 of the playoffs and the bowl games, plus our NFL Week 17 predictions, both coming at you on Christmas Eve because of the no college basketball and no NBA again on the 24th. Okay, our first game of the day, we mentioned a 2 p.m. start, and here it is. We've got Norfolk State taking on Alabama State. I know what you're thinking. Yes, we're going back to Norfolk State. We are, okay? Yes, we are going back to the Spartans. You've got the SWAC's own Alabama State. If you've been watching the channel, you know that the SWAC is just horrible, right? They take all these bye games, but they get set up to lose, and they lose, and they lose again. We faded Alabama State earlier this season. We faded them when they went on the road to Southern Miss and ended up losing that game by 17 points. That was a competitive ball game that I think Alabama State was winning by about 6 points going into halftime, but Southern Miss did what they needed to do, and not to say the Golden Eagles are all that great of a basketball team. They're not, but they did what they needed to do against a SWAC team, Alabama State, an Alabama State team that might be the best SWAC team. Honestly, I mean, they've got a win over Lamar. They beat Omaha this year, and they're coming off a 103-93 victory over UT Martin. Now, UT Martin's not great, but I will give Alabama State credit for winning that game in overtime. And Alabama State, again, has scorers on this team. We look at Amar Knox, who's averaging 16 points a game. You look at CJ Hines, who's averaging 15 points a game as well. But for the Norfolk State Spartans, yes, I'm kind of high on this team because I did get to see this team in person this year when they went to Stanford to play the Stanford Cardinal. And since that basketball game, again, where they covered at Stanford, they were able to go on the road and beat the UC Davis Aggies. They were able to go on the road and beat Stony Brook. They did lose to Hofstra. They lost at Baylor, and they are coming off of a loss to the Northern Kentucky. But now you get, again, a neutral site game against Alabama State. I believe, I could be completely mistaken, but this is what I'm assuming. It's an HBCU little tournament round robin thing that's going on here at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, because after this Alabama State-Norfolk State game, Grambling is playing Delaware State. So I'm assuming, again, it's somewhat of a round robin going on with the HBCUs. We are taking Norfolk State, though, to win the basketball game, and we're taking them to cover the 4.5 points. Something that I'm playing personally for tomorrow. Again, you don't have to, again, this isn't an official bet, but I'm going to be doing it myself. I'm going to be playing Norfolk State on the money line and parlaying that with the Los Angeles Chargers. I like the Chargers to win at home against the Broncos tomorrow. I think it's a great spot for Justin Herbert and the guys. And I do like Norfolk State a lot in this basketball game as well, because I do think, even though, again, we just talked about Amar Knox and we talked about CJ Hines being the 2 best players for Alabama State, Norfolk State's got their 2 guys as well. We're talking about Brian Moore, who's going to be by far the best player in this game, and I think, honestly, might be the best player in the MEAC conference. You also got Christian Ings as well, who's averaging 13 points a game. But again, yes, Brian Moore, I do think, is the best player in this conference. By far. I mean, this guy can drive to the hoop. He's the best player in the Mid-Eastern Conference, I think. I saw him in the Stanford game. Again, this is a guy who's a relentless finisher. He can put up shots as well. I really like Brian Moore at the point guard position for Norfolk State. And ultimately, again, we're taking the Spartans neutral site game. So, no home court advantage really matters in this one, obviously. And we are taking the Spartans to take care of business here in the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut over the Alabama State Hornets. Let's move on to our next game here. We go to the UC Irvine Anteaters. Again, we teased this yesterday, obviously, but Irvine goes on the road to Belmont, and I think it's a great spot for UCI. Again, I think we're going to be hard-pressed finding Irvine at, close to even money all year long, especially once we get into Big West play. Obviously, Irvine's already has 2 victories in Big West play, or actually only 1. They only beat Bakersfield. But again, we aren't getting Irvine close to even money or even to plus money, obviously, when they're going to be playing in Big West games. I mean, the only games I can think maybe when they go on the road to play, I don't know, maybe at Hawaii, not because Hawaii is all that great, just because again the travel. I think do they have to go to Hawaii this year? They do go to Hawaii, yeah. Obviously, I think they do. Yeah, I think they play everyone if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think we're going to be really pressed to find Irvine at plus money this year, or again, close to even. So this is where we are going to try that. Again, Irvine, non-conference game, going to Nashville to take on the Belmont Bruins. For Belmont, it's a good basketball team. I'm not going to deny that. This is a 9-2 team this season. They've got wins over the Air Force, Lipscomb, Oral Roberts, Tulane, Gardner-Webb, Illinois State, Middle Tennessee, and coming off a win over the Richmond Spiders by 7 points. And Belmont's a good team in a very good Missouri Valley Conference, right? A very good Missouri Valley Conference with teams like UNI, Indiana State, Drake, obviously, coming off a huge victory over K-State, which we cashed on a couple days ago. Bradley, who beat San Francisco yesterday, right? Belmont is in that mix, too, of these really good teams in the Missouri Valley. And then there's teams like Southern Illinois, Valpo, and Evansville, right? Like, it's just, there's tiers, obviously, like every conference, but there are really clear tiers in the Missouri Valley. But Belmont's obviously one of these better squads. They are led by Jonathan Pierre, who's averaging 13.5 points per game. You got Isaiah Walker, who's going to give you 12.5 as well. And then Tyler Lundblade, could be butchering that, who's going to give you 12 points a game as well. But we really like the Anteaters in this basketball game. We've liked them all season long. It's just a team effort out of this Irvine squad. They really excel at their bigs. Bent Lupton, who's averaging 14.5 and 8 boards a game. I mean, he's by far their best guy. And Irvine was a 9-0 team before their loss on Saturday, where they lost again in Corvallis to Oregon State. Not a bad loss. I think Oregon State is going to make some waves this year in the West Coast Conference. Other than that, though, Irvine, again, had their tournament over Thanksgiving. They were able to beat Kennesaw State. They were able to beat Kenton State, who I think, again, is going to be a really good team in the Mid-American Conference this season. They were able to beat Townsend, obviously, in their first game in the Big West. They were able to beat Cal State Bakersfield as well. This is a team that we saw earlier in the season go to Northern Iowa and win. Do I think Northern Iowa is better than Belmont? Probably not. I think Belmont probably is the better team. I think. I don't know. UNI's not bad. They will play on January 1st, so we'll see. But UNI has been a pretty solid team this season. Their losses are what? Irvine, Wichita, North Texas, St. Bonaventure. I mean, those are not bad losses. And Irvine was able to go to UNI and put the biggest beat down that the Panthers have taken all season long. And Irvine went on the road to Northern Iowa and won the game by 20 points. They're taking on another Missouri Valley team here. We've seen Irvine go on the road, beat a Missouri Valley team, a good Missouri Valley team, and I think they do the same here. I really like Irvine this year. Again, the way I see Irvine is a 12 seed, a 13 seed in the tournament that is going to give a 4 or a 5 a lot of trouble in the first round. This is your Cinderella team. This is a team that's going to upset someone in the tournament. Irvine, whoever gets out of the Summit League, like, I think it'll be South Dakota State, but if it's North Dakota State, hell, again, we just saw North Dakota, the Grand Forks zone, North Dakota, give Alabama a game. Shout out to Trey Eaglestaff. We said that last night. Again, Eaglestaff was going to have a big night, 40 points for UND. Obviously, they didn't beat Alabama, but they covered that game against the Crimson Tide. So again, I really like Irvine to shock some teams in March, assuming they get out the Big West, and again, it's assuming it's not the beach of Long Beach State again. And whoever gets out the Summit, just wait for it, man. Those teams, and obviously the Missouri Valley is going to be good as well. I'm kind of anticipating Drake to win that one, obviously. Again, Drake's undefeated, coming off a big win over K-State in Kansas City. But we like the Anteaters in this basketball game. Again, we've been high on Irvine all year long, and we're going to continue that. If they're able to go to Northern Iowa and win that game by 20 points, I'm not saying they're going to blow out Belmont in this basketball game, but I do think they're able to pick up the victory. Again, Belmont's only losses this season are at home to Furman by 2 points, and then a neutral site game where they lost to Loyola Marymount by 14 points. So give me the UC Irvine Anteaters to take care of business on the road in Nashville against the Belmont Bruins. Let's move on to our next game here. We go to Lindenwood. Yes, these are the type of games we have to bet on today. But no, again, I like this spot for Lindenwood a lot. We go to St. Charles, Missouri. I gave you, I gave my bonus plays the other day, just games that I thought, I liked on one side or the other. And one of those games was Tennessee Tech against West Illinois. Now, West Illinois wins the basketball game. Really weird game. If I can remember this off the top of my head. All right, West Illinois is up by, they're up by 4 points, I think, with like 30 seconds left. Or about 40 seconds left. West Illinois is up by 4 points. I believe the spread I got 3.5. So they're up, no, I got 2.5, I think. I got 2.5. 2.5, yeah. I don't know why I said half like that. But I got 2.5 points in that basketball game. I believe, yeah, when I started watching, the Leathernecks were up by 4 points. As soon as I turn it on, because I was watching the K-State Drake game, as soon as I turn it on, Tennessee Tech nails a 3. Okay, it's a 1-point game. But West Illinois goes to the line, right? They, I think, oh God, I might need to look, might need to check this. I think it was 4. Regardless, okay, I'm not going to tell the whole thing. Regardless, West Illinois, the only reason they covered is because, oh no, they were up by 4. Tennessee Tech hits a 3 at the very end to cut the lead to 1 with like, yeah, it was like maybe 0.5 seconds left. And then before they can inbound the ball, because West Illinois just inbounds the basketball and just throws it up, and they just barely get, they get a hand on it, and the loose ball, whatnot. West Illinois is only going to win the game by 1 point. But Tennessee Tech, shout out to the Golden Eagles, fouled before the ball is inbounded. West Illinois goes to the line, takes their 2 free throws. They cover the 2.5-point spread. That's exactly what happened. Regardless, we're going to fade Tennessee Tech again. I don't think this team is very good. Now, I liked again West Illinois in that spot. I saw West Illinois play San Jose State earlier this season. They were able to go to San Jose and win. I'm going to continue to fade Tennessee Tech. Tennessee Tech played a competitive game in Athens to start the season against Georgia. Yes, they were able to stay very close with the Georgia Bulldogs, only losing that game by 5 points. But their victories this season are a bad West Georgia team, VMI, Presbyterian. Those are their only wins, and Bryan, an NIAA school in Tennessee. So really 3 real wins for Tennessee Tech. They've lost to UT Rio Grande this year. They've lost to UCF on the road. They lost to Vandy, North Alabama, West Georgia. They played again. They lost at West Georgia, and then of course just losing at West Illinois. This is the final game of their road trip. They've been on the road for a while. I assume they've been back to Tennessee. Yeah, okay. They just played West Illinois last night or 2 nights ago, and now of course they're going to Lindenwood. They haven't been home in about 4 days, 5 days. It is a road trip for Tennessee Tech, and we get them here against a Lindenwood Lions team that's coming off a victory over IU Indianapolis. Now I know, I think they're the Jaguars, the Panthers are the Jaguars. Regardless, we'll just call them the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars. They're the Jaguars. All right, the Jaguars of IU Indianapolis. I know they're not great. I completely understand that. They are almost bottom of the barrel of the horizon. Other than Green Bay, shout out to the no-name university coming into Green Bay and beating them. Regardless, I get it. IU Indianapolis is not the best team, but Lindenwood was able to beat IU Indianapolis by 18 points, right? They have wins over Harris Stowe State, East West University, and the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy. What? Why are they playing this team? Guys, what? They're just playing the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy? What? Why do they have a basketball team? Let's look. Okay, it's a St. Louis, Missouri school. Why? Basketball. I mean, is it just a bunch of nerds on this team? I'm confused. Okay, I know this is a female player, but she's literally got like her pharmaceutical stuff on top of her jersey. I know it's just a photo shoot, but still, this is ridiculous. Why? How do they get to play Lindenwood? I'm at a loss for words, man. I'm actually at a loss for words. So yeah, Lindenwood's record is really padded. I'll give you that. Again, their wins are University of Health and Sciences and Pharmacy, East West University, don't ask me where that is, and Harris Stowe State. Again, don't ask me where that is. But they're winning those games. Again, no-name universities they're beating, right? Their only real wins this season are IU Indianapolis and Stonehill. They did lose to Valpo, which is a really bad sign because I think Valpo's horrible. They lost out Robert Morris. They lost to the Privateers of New Orleans. But guys, Tennessee Tech's worse. And also, again, Lindenwood gets this game at home. There's not one guy in this Lindenwood team I'm going to point out and be like, all right, watch out for this guy. I mean, Markeith Browning the second leads their team in points with 11.5. Then there's Aeneas Futrell, who averages 11. And then Jadis Jones, who averages 11 points. Tennessee Tech, though, again, watching this team play West Illinois, the parts I saw, and then watching them earlier in the season, Rodney Johnson's their best guy, but the Golden Eagles aren't that great. This is low-level college basketball. But I do think Lindenwood's actually the better team, and on top of that, we get them at home. So we really like this for the Lions here. Again, Lindenwood's getting 1.5 at home, minus 125. We just saw Tennessee Tech lose on the road a couple days ago by 3 points to the Leathernecks of West Illinois, and I think Lindenwood will catch him here. So give me the Lions of Lindenwood to win the basketball game here over the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles. I will give Tennessee Tech something, though. Their logo's pretty sick, I'm not going to lie. I mess with it. Let's go on to our next game. You thought you were getting away without any Summit League basketball? Come on now. We got to go back to the Summit. Give me the South Dakota Coyotes to go on the road and pick up the victory at Utah Tech. I don't know why the line's only 2.5 points. I don't know. I really don't understand it. Utah Tech's a bad team out of the WAC. they are probably the worst team out the WAC. I don't think Seattle University's all that, but I do think Utah Tech's even worse than them. You know, you look at what Utah Tech's done this season, guys. Wins over Denver, and that's it. That is their only Division I win this year. They are the embarrassment of the Summit League, okay? The Roos of Kansas City aren't playing all that well, and again, I've been a pioneer. I actually think Denver's name is the Pioneers, but still, I've been campaigning, and I've been, you know, rooting on the Summit League all year long. We don't claim Denver. We claim the South Dakota Coyotes, though, okay? South Dakota's a good basketball team, right? Their losses this year, they lost to the Screaming Eagles of Southern Indiana. Okay, that's a bad loss. I'm not gonna argue that's not a good loss. It's bad. But, okay, the resume and the wins are not horrible. On the road at West Michigan, W, right? On the road at Northern Arizona, lost the game by 13 points. Whatever. Win over Wyoming at home. Huge win for South Dakota. Beating West Illinois, the Leathernecks, by 23 points at home. They've shown capability of going on the road this year and winning, again, at West Michigan. I know, again, they lost to Southern Indiana, the Screaming Eagles, at the Scream Dome, or whatever the hell the Screaming Thunderdome, I think they call it. But hear me out, Utah Tech's just bad, guys. This is a bad basketball team. Sure, they've played a lot of bye games this season, but they lost to Cal State Northridge. They lose to the Montana Grizzlies, who are really weird. Some nights Montana's really on, and sometimes, like the South Dakota State game, and sometimes Montana looks absolutely horrible. Just a couple nights ago when they played, I'm blanking off the top of my head, we literally talked about the game, when they played UNI, they looked absolutely atrocious. They could not get a stop to save their lives. Utah Tech's lost to Portland State this year. They've lost to Weber State at home. I'm not impressed with the Utah Tech Trailblazers. This is just not that good of a basketball team. Again, we saw them in the Weber game. I watched it. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. And I've seen South Dakota win basketball games this year, and they come from the Summit League, which is a good league. I think personally, Chase Forte is the leading scorer of South Dakota, 15 points a game. Isaac Bruns is going to give you 13.5 a game as well for the Coyotes out the Summit League. Trust me, Summit League basketball is better than the bottom of the barrel of the WAC. Honestly, it's better than most of the WAC, other than like GCU. I've been fading the WAC a lot this season. We faded Seattle University the other night when they went to Bowling Green to take on Western Kentucky, and that one hit. I'm going to take South Dakota in this basketball game. Utah Tech, again, has lost time in and time out this season. Their only win is Denver. And Denver is bottom of the barrel in the Summit League. So that's the type of team Utah Tech should be playing out the Summit, not the Coyotes. The Coyotes are going to go in there and take care of business. You look at the odds, we get what? -2.5 on the Coyotes, -140. The only reason those odds are so close is because the game is in Utah. I think South Dakota goes down to Utah and takes care of business. Give me South Dakota on the road in St. George, Utah. They will cover the 2.5 points and win the game outright, of course, as well. Let's go into our final game. We're going to Merrimack versus St. Mary's. Another one of the teams that I mentioned the other day, just very quickly, like, oh, where are games that, I'd consider taking. Merrimack was one of them against Stanford. Partially was that because Stanford's so horrible and they're so one-dimensional, it's just Maxime Reynaud, 100%. But at the same time, I don't think St. Mary's is much better. I don't want to be a hater of Bay Area basketball, because I do tend to pick against these Bay Area teams a lot. I pick against Stanford quite a bit. I pick against San Francisco quite a bit. And welcome St. Mary's. Yeah, welcome the Gales of Moraga. I don't know why I put an accent on that. Moraga. Okay. Regardless, we're taking Merrimack to cover the 21.5 points. I don't got a doubt in my mind that St. Mary's doesn't win this basketball game. But St. Mary's, the times I've seen them this season, other than the USC game, because USC is just weird, they haven't really been able to put teams away. I know the Akron game's an outlier. It is. Okay, the Akron game's a huge outlier because I actually like the Zips in the MAC this season. But the game I want to point to is the UTSA ball game. They kept UTSA in that basketball game way too long. And UTSA, again, St. Mary's was up by 20 at halftime, and UTSA came storming back in the second half, and they pushed the game to overtime. Again, the Gales ended up winning the basketball game. But that just can't happen. Merrimack's a team that will fight. This Merrimack Warriors team will stay competitive. This is not a bad team out the MAAC. And they got a player in Adam Clark who's averaging 21 points a game. Clark does it all for them. He had 32 points in their game against Stanford the other night where they lost the game by 6 points. And Clark, again, led their team in points in their win over Canisius. Led their team in points in the win over Niagara. The win over BU, it was more the same. It was Clark. Again, he leads their team in points every single night with the exception of their win over Troy where it was Devon Savage who led their team in points. So Adam Clark is their guy. Sean Trumper, not a bad big as well for this Merrimack Warriors team. And seriously, Adam Clark alone will be able to keep Merrimack in this basketball game against the St. Mary's team that is questionable at times. Again, I implore you to just watch the UTSA game. They keep that Roadrunners team in it. They're up by 20 points, but again, they just let the Roadrunners chip away and chip away. Augustus Marcelonis is a good player, right? They've got guys. Marcelonis does a lot for them, obviously. But I think Merrimack's able to stay in this basketball game. I do think St. Mary's is one of the better teams in the West Coast Conference, obviously. I think they're way better than the Dons of San Francisco, that's for damn sure. But I just feel like 21 and a half points is a lot for a Merrimack team that just went to Stanford and played very competitive basketball, a team that all season long has been close. They were close against UTSA earlier this season, right? I know they got blown out at Butler, but they went to Rutgers and only lost the game by 11 points. Played Princeton, lost by 11. VCU only beat them by 21 points. Hell, that would have covered in this game, right? They've covered this line every single game they've played this season with the exception of their loss at Butler, which at the same time doesn't entirely make sense because North Dakota State was able to go to the Hinkie Fieldhouse, I believe, in Indianapolis and beat Butler outright. So Butler's a weird team. Obviously, Gordon Hayward's not there anymore, so it is what it is. I don't know why my camera, can we focus one time? Thank you. I'm taking Merrimack in this basketball game to cover the 21 and a half. I am not impressed with anything St. Mary's has done so far this season, other than, I guess, the USC victory. This is a team that played Boise, lost. They went to Utah and won, which I guess is impressive. And I guess the Akron win. I will give them the Akron victory. Oh, they beat Nebraska too. Regardless, we're going to take Merrimack here. 21 and a half points. I just think it's too much. I think it's too many points. Again, I'm not saying St. Mary's isn't going to win. I think it's fairly obvious the Gales are going to win this basketball game. I just think, again, 21 and a half points is too many for the Merrimack Warriors and their star player and the best scorer on the court in this basketball game, Adam Clark. So give me the Merrimack Warriors to cover the 21 and a half points. And folks, that'll do it for our 5 best bets for college basketball here on December 19th. Make sure I got the date right this time. I did, yes, December 19th. Folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball bets. We'll be back tomorrow again for our December 20th best bets and with the NBA predictions as well. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.